Hello and welcome to the White Deer Filmmaking Podcast. We're
That's more like
starting it properly this week, so then it can just fade off into nonsense now. But at least we started strong. Yeah.
At least we told people what they're listening to.
Yeah. I still think that's largely pointless. We're not on like TV or anything where you can accidentally tune into stuff. But no one's really watching TV anyway now, are they? It's like on-demand stuff. So there's less stumbling across, unless you're stumbling across your Netflix like homepage, I guess.
Yeah. It's like so I don't know about you, but I've when I'm living at home, or when I've been living at home, sort of thing, something will come on the TV and I've not been paying attention, and then I'll ask, if there's other people actually watching the TV, I'll ask, oh, what's this? And I'm like, I don't know. I'll be like, well, everyone has digital TV these days. Like, everyone has Sky or something. Just can you look, please? Because you can do that now. You can just check whatever you're watching, listening to. That's just the way that things work. So,
and also, like, watching stuff that you don't know what it is. Like, there's so much stuff that I want to watch. I haven't got time for watching stuff that I don't know what it is.
Well, that's right, isn't it? Although I will say this, and this is related to what I might talk about if we get on to what we've been watching recently. Things that come on unexpectedly, and you find that you really enjoyed. They're some of the best experiences, because it was out of the blue. It is a just a nice surprise. But I would say I'm more likely to stick around and watch something if I have a reference point of it. So if I knew, like, my thing that I would say I've been watching is, or had watched, is Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. Like, I knew of that before, and because it always seemed like a really interesting concept, I just never have got around to watching it. If it had just come on telly and I didn't know what it was, I may have stuck around, possibly with that, because it's just really wacky and out there. But I was more likely to stay because I knew what it was. I knew I wanted to watch it for a while. Like, I wasn't really prepared to watch something I hadn't really set aside 2 hours to do that. But it was captivating enough for me to stop my work and just watch it. So, yeah. I think we are a bit more time conscious these days, aren't we?
Yeah. Because
we've got so much going on. Like, there's so much happening in the world. Especially filmmakers who do about a million things and get nowhere.
Well, shall we talk about who's on the podcast?
We should. Well, I say we. You weren't there, Adam. So
I was not there.
No, which is it's actually a massive shame. Yeah, you would have really enjoyed this one. They're really.
You tell me just as much as you're telling the listeners. I mean, I know this fact anyway, but
well, yeah. But it's always good to reiterate. So we spoke to the team behind the short film Morituri, which is, I mean, they'll summarise it for you. But it's a hard film to explain, because it doesn't do it justice. You need to sort of either have watched it, or we'll try and put some images up for you, or some maybe the trailer or something. But a very character-driven story, which could have gone so wrong, but the team behind it was so passionate, so visionary, that it didn't. It worked very well, and they won a lot of awards. I think 4 in total from us. And they, I think it's mentioned in the interview that they won in so many different departments because they just thought of lots of different areas, and it all came together under one vision. And it's always very impressive when that is the case, and it's like the first film from the director or something, which this is. But we get into talking about art and purpose behind cinematography and things like that, which, you know, is a shame that you missed. But I think it's certainly the case that we would have them back in a heartbeat to chat more in, you know, more detail with them. But really interesting one if you like art in film, and really well done projects, really well done acting and writing and things.
Yeah, I think it was just really well crafted, well executed, a fairly simple idea in terms of like logistical filmmaking, like basically one location or variants of one location.
Yeah, but using it, playing with it, and that using that to tell the story.
And the light that they managed to capture in the latter half of the film, I guess it was just gorgeous. So a real stylistic impression. They clearly had a big idea of what they wanted to convey, and did it well. So I appreciate that, and yeah, I'm looking forward to hopefully talking to them in the future about some other stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Excellent. Well, we'll get to it. Yeah.
Excellent.
Brilliant. Enjoy. Yeah, so why don't we start then with just for everyone that might be listening or viewing this, if one of you gives a summary of the film in your own words for us, maybe you, Leo?
Yeah, of course. Okay. Well, Morituri is the story about Murray, a young girl who wakes up at a bus stop in the middle of nowhere, in the middle of the night, and she has no idea what she's doing here. Up until that moment that her brother appears, and it happens that her brother, she has not seen him for like quite a while. And I'm gonna stop right there because, you know, it's quite a short movie already, and if that's about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that stood out for us as watchers was that you took quite a simplistic concept, but made it such a heartfelt and well-written piece. Now, I'm aware that it's quite personal to. Is it to you, Leo?
Yeah.
Quite personal to you, and you know, if there's anything that you don't want us to talk about, then that's
fine. I mean, I'm fine with that, because actually, what's funny is that I took this script that I had because my father passed away in 2018, and the thing is that I had this script that I had already written, and it was a comedy. Mm-hmm. And the thing is that I didn't like that script, but I liked the set. You know, it was just this bus stop in the middle of nowhere, and I was like, you know what, let's try to take this and put everything I wanted to say in it. So mm-hmm. You know how it is at first. You know, it's like it's scribbly. You don't really know what to say, and it's like it's not very clear. But then, you know, you put all of yourself in it, and you begin to frame it. You know, to have a frame, to have a structure, and then you find the actors and things like that. And I mean, this whole movie wouldn't have been what it is if I hadn't been like with this whole crew. I'm so thankful for being with them, you know, and I'm so happy that James and Leonor can be here. Guillaume is going to be there too later, but yeah, I mean, they can talk about the movie too, but yeah. I mean, I'm sorry, I'm quite shy. I don't really know how to my movie.
No. Well, yeah. It shows a lot of enthusiasm as well about a topic very personal to you. So, I mean, it comes across. So,
but yeah, I think that you know, grief is something that is supposed. I mean, it's quite cliche. I mean, you can go, when you talk about grief, it can become really cliche quite quickly. I mean, because it has been talked about so many times and in so many different ways. So what was mine? What was my way of talking about it? And I thought that just two person in this just bus stop, it was just so simplistic, but it was enough to say what needed to be said. And that's why I needed some great actors, and I had Leonore and Rudolph, who are actually my best friends. So I knew them by heart.
Yeah.
And so it was easy to direct them, because they were really listening, and they were really looking for the truth in their characters, because they really wanted to get the message across. Yeah.
Wow, brilliant. Yeah.
I think, if just to add something, I think the reason as well why the movie is something so how can I say, like, deep and well, not cliche, but like that this energy flows, it because of course what happened, but because it's this team that we all know each other, and we all love Leo, and we met him like a long time ago, and so there was this thing, like, we really wanted all together to create this, because of all the things that happened before, but just to be I don't know, it was this huge group energy that really wanted to do something with this, and to believe in Leo and what he wanted to make. And I think
yeah.
Well, it's very true. Like, the thing is, the shoot itself was rather difficult. I mean, we were in the middle of nowhere in a dark field at night, but we never once had any complaints. Everyone was just so enthusiastic to try to pull this together. And I think that Leo really inspired all of us, like, to go through pretty much anything in order to bring this into being.
Yeah, because I was quite scared, if I'm being honest, because it was my first directing. I didn't know how to handle a whole crew, but at the beginning of the shooting, I told everyone, like, you know what, listen, guys. I mean, everyone that is here is because I know what you're capable of. And for example, the DOP has not been through cinema school. He has not learned anything. In school, he was a photographer, and it's just that I wanted him to bring his own self, into the movie, and that's what I tried to do. I tried to give my trust to everyone, even if they wanted to add something, piece by piece into the movie, and the thing is that I think trust builds like a whole crew together, because otherwise it's impossible. And I mean, it could have gone the wrong way. I could have because I've seen so many sets gone wrong, people like arguing, like, why are you fucking doing this? I told you to do this, but but I don't think this is good, but in the end, it's just all about communication and how to communicate. It's so important.
And sometimes when you're communicating that passion, as you say, in the right kind of way, it does go on to inspire everyone on set. It is quite incredible how it happens, isn't it?
Yeah, and I'm quite lucky to have been able to inspire someone. I mean, personally, I'm an actor too, but without any character, I'm quite shy and I don't know how to express myself very well. But I managed, I managed, and I think that's what helped create this atmosphere on set.
Yeah, well, it really. I was sort of reading about you discussing how you are an actor and how your experiences have helped you, try directing and be a director as well. And it comes across as well that there's a lot of character and a lot of looking into and an awareness of characters and how to tell a story through very strong characters, and that really comes across as well in your portrayal, Leonore, as well, of Marie and the two actors in the film. They're both very strong, very relatable as well, and we are with them as an audience when we watch the film. We go on this journey with them and feel the emotions that they go through, and that comes through because of the script and also because of the portrayals. So, good job. Good job.
Well, I mean, I mean, I was lucky also to work with Leonor because we've been in the same school, in the same acting school, which is actually a British acting school, which is called the GFCA,
Okay.
Women's Center for Acting in
Uh-huh.
Soho.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the thing is that we've been brought up to act, very sincerely, very method actingly, but most of all to try and find the truth inside everything, inside every character. And I thought that I mean, for a movie, I mean, I thought that, I don't know how to say this, that you can have a perfect script, but if the character is like empty or void, it's you won't have any empathy for that person, for that character. And that's what I try to do with Leonor and Rodolphe, is to give them the space also to create. Because I had already written like a whole, I mean, the script was quite longer, was longer than it is now. But with editing and things like that. But now, I gave this to Leonor and Rodolphe, and they told me like, maybe this doesn't feel right. How I say it, how I feel it, and I think Leonor can speak better about this.
Yeah, well, I think it's the word trust is good because it's exactly what happened. Like before we shoot the movie, we really worked all together on the script, and we did some rehearsals all together, and there was this, those moments where we could really like even together and like differently, like how do you say, like on our own to rewrite the script, and I know that Leo was really open with this, that we really try to rewrite together, or to understand that maybe this sentence could be said differently, or because of course with all the situation in the real life, because it's kind of like, of course it comes from something real. For Leo, it was important not to have as well some kind of a retour, comment dire,
Feedback.
some like an objectivity from the others, to remove also a lot of hard feelings and stuff like this. And because he trusted us, he really trusted us, we could really write and find something all together. And I think that really helps to have something very natural and completely light at the end.
Hello, we have our new guest. Hello.
Sorry for being late.
That's okay. Welcome. Thank you for joining us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So Guillaume is the DOP, and he was working with Arnaud Hellé at the lights, and Julien Bonneau at the Best Boy, and so the whole crew.
Yeah.
And just to bounce on what was saying Leonor, is because I'm lucky to know a little bit about the craft of the actors, and I know that for an actor it's very important to have this space to create. And as a director, if you don't leave any space to the actor, you're gonna lose some natural, how to say this, some sincerity. So that's quite important. I'm lucky to have understood that before the shoot. But that's how you get some emotions. That's what translates into the screen. And I'm so lucky to have had Leonor like this, because you know how good you are.
Oh, we love the compliments. Yeah. Well, it's true, isn't it? Words are very important. If you're, when you're developing a character, if the words don't feel right, then if you think something would help convey that character in a better way, in a more effective way, then it's good to have the option to and the trust, as you say, to speak as director and actor in that relationship, and explore the options to make the end result better than it would ever have been. So that trust is very important. But of course, the same with all departments in filmmaking. So we have the producer here as well, and also Jan has just joined us. So on your sides as well, how we'll start with you, James. Just how did you find things? Because obviously, if you want to explore some themes or ideas into a film, then you need to have the schedule that allows for it and things like that. So did you have a lot of freedom when shooting, or were there some difficulties there?
Well, overall, the thing is, we actually planned to shoot the entire film the year before, and then unfortunately, Leo's father passed, and so we had to postpone. And so we pretty much had the chance to bring it almost to the point of shooting. Then we had a whole year then to rewrite the script and go through all of the motions, and then we actually ended up shooting it in the end, the year after. Like it was, I mean, we ended up like just from the production perspective, like we had a really good situation. Like we were in the middle of nowhere, so we didn't have a lot of issues with traffic or people or things like that. So we really were able to achieve the aesthetic that we were looking for with the nighttime. We also like had Leo's uncle who allowed us to stay at his house, which was just fantastic. He has a very nice space, and we ate good food and, you know, the typical French countryside, you know.
Yeah.
My uncle is a butcher, so
Okay.
so
Okay.
we had like good meat.
Excellent. Excellent. Yeah. Brilliant. Brilliant. Yeah. I mean that location I think is part of the film. It really adds to the film, doesn't it? I mean, is that a natural hut? Did you have to do anything to it, or?
Well, actually, it's a bus stop that we created with Simon, the set designer. We say that, yeah, the set designer. And the thing that we created that bus stop a year before for the former shoot, and and then but it was just some like 3-4 walls, and that was it. And then he brought in like some things. I didn't know what he used, but like the whole. I mean, we added some. What did we do, Guillaume? We added some flyers, right, on the.
Yeah, some fake concert posters and some a fake information panel with the bus lines and everything.
Yeah. Guillaume and I actually designed it, the lines for bus stops,
and the a little logo of the bus company. We don't really see it in the movie, but
it's there.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean it's tiny details, that you don't really see, but it helps out, for the whole feeling. And
Exactly.
but yeah, otherwise, I mean, I actually was at my uncle's yesterday, and I saw the bus stop like destroyed. But I mean, because it's huge, and you have to fold it in order to to set it somewhere. But otherwise, yes, it was made for the movie.
Wow. So in terms of the actual choice of location, though, sort of in the field, sort of a lone bus stop, how did you sort of what was the kind of how to explain what sort of narrative choice in terms of the storyline, as part of the storyline, what made you decide on that particular location in terms of the storyline for the film?
Well, I was looking for some place that would look empty, like because I was feeling like when I was feeling panicky, what those panic attacks and all those things, you feel you feel like you're in such a dark place, and I needed a road in the middle of a field and without any lights around. Because that way we would use, I mean, Guillaume can talk about it better, but we would use some natural dark light and not create it in a studio, you see? And I felt like that we needed that also, I don't know how to explain, but it's like
infinity.
Yeah, it's like it's in 2D. And all of a sudden at the end, when she bursts, when she says everything she needs to say, when she faces what she needs to face, well, it opens up and you can see the horizon. But when you're at during these panic attacks, you just see in front of yourself, and you don't see past that obstacle. I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it does. Yeah,
it does. Yeah, it does.
And that's why this infinity of fields, and with just a tiny, like, I don't know, it was like wheat. I don't know what it was, but it felt so calm. I needed that calmness at the end, this light coming up and just have a sigh. That's what she does, actually. Leonora does at the end. She sighs and she leaves the frame. in the light, and he stays here, in the light in this. But honestly, we were very lucky to have this kind of weather.
I just wanted to say, like, the one thing that was actually very special about the location too was the fact that it was almost on a small hilltop. Like, it's hard to describe exactly, but the where we were, like, there was a slow gradient that came up to us. So basically, we had this detached horizon with 360 degrees around us, which without it being like actually on a hill. So it was just absolutely spectacular as far as that's concerned. When the sun rose, like every morning, it was beautiful. It was truly the magic. And I think that, in the film itself, you can see this, like the sunrise shot, like with the mist and everything is just absolutely stunning.
Absolutely. And we just wanted to, actually, that was one of the things I wanted to ask, was the sun rising. And perhaps you can all sort of add a little bit from your own specialties here. But was there a specific choice to use the rising sun and the light to express the story? Or was that just because you had to work with the weather and to work with the time of day and things like that?
Well, in the script, it was written like once she's not in denial anymore, the sun rises.
Yeah.
But so, and what we did with James and Guillaume on the schedule was to we had 3 days of shoot. 3 nights, and we were shooting like this is the first night we were shooting in the first morning, and then the second morning, and then the third morning, and so that whole sequence at the end, and it was tough also for the actors because they needed to get that again, to get that feeling again, but it was the only way to get this rising sun for this whole sequence. But yeah,
actually, we were really lucky to have the sun, the sunrise, because the 2 days before, if I remember correctly, it was very bad weather.
Oh, yeah.
So it was very foggy everywhere. So we didn't really see the sunset. So we just shoot some scenes without the sky for the morning. But we were lucky because the last day we had this amazing and beautiful sunset, and that's how we used these takes.
And the thing is that also the color grader did a wonderful job, because to have this whole evolution of the light when she bursts into tears and Leonore does her monologue. It was because we've been cheating actually with this, because we shot this at night. At sunset, because we already shot it in the morning, and I was like, no, but I need a close-up. I just need a close-up, and I was too far away from her, and at that moment I really needed to be, with her. And Leonore was really wanted to do that again, and so I think
really wanted,
brilliant. Yeah, what really comes across is this is going. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correct. Is it Guillaume?
Yeah.
Okay, brilliant. We were speaking just before you came on how you are originally a photographer.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a lot of the shots in the film come across as like that. If you just took them as still shots, they stand really strong, and I think that comes across from your background. So obviously everything worked out in terms of the time of the day, the weather, to help create that, and obviously the color grading as well. But also, they just stand really strong. So when Maria's on the bench asleep and wakes up, it's really strong. The end shot, which I won't spoil or anything, but the end is really strong as well, because it shows a clear change and a clear break free, if you like, of the characters. It's really strong. Each moment is very strong, and obviously the performances help that, and everything, and the direction. So everything stands out as being a solid moment as we go through the story. So very, very clear in my mind, and I think it's one of the reasons why you won in so many different categories, is because each moment is very strong. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, thank you for saying that because that's really what we wanted to do, to have a very iconic shots everywhere. And but actually, at the beginning, we took a lot of photos with Leo because he's a comedian, so I take a lot of photos of him. So we really are in the same mood for photos. And actually, at the beginning, we had just this idea of an empty bus stop, and with just an empty field, and we clearly had this vision. It was the first thing we had in mind was just this bus stop and the line of a field like this at night with a powerful light. And it was almost like an obsession for me, and I think for Leo too, just this image. And then we iterated with that for each shot, and with the wonderful script of Leo, we could do that perfectly. But yeah, I think a lot of my composition comes from photography. I think because I'm so used to have to be forced to have just like the perfect image, you know, because just in photography you take one shot that would be perfect. And I think it came to me again in with cinematography, where I just want to have each shot perfect and very strong.
Because Guillaume has always, I mean, if you go on his Instagram page, you'll see that there's always this kind of poetic vibe on the way he shoots people and the way he shoots sceneries. And I really wanted to get that, you know, because cinema is a whole Lego piece. You need everything in place, and everything will give a feeling to everyone. And there's this thing that this movie could have been great, you know, with other shots and things like that. But with that kind of photography, with that kind of you know, of because I don't know.
Organic.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, because I needed to have this poetic vibe, this poetic, because shots, visuals strike as much as words. And it has to be there. It has to be effective, and it has to be on point. And that's why, I mean, that's with the actors, with the set, and with everything comes with this this whole sorry, I lose my words.
It's quite unfortunate because there are 3 co-directors as part of our festival, and Adam, who isn't here today, is a cinematographer, and it's a shame because I think he would love to chat to you all, because he tries to do things in the same way to make. He in many ways he has the final say on any best cinematography awards, because he's always looking for meaning and purpose in shots. So you can make a beautiful shot, but if it doesn't mean anything in context to the story,
and
what's the point?
I mean, there was this because even, you know, you can have ideas, but even on sets there are some things happening, and you think like, oh my god, this is way better. And there was this shot, I don't know if you remember, when Marie steps out of the bus stop and she's smoking from the camera, and he is he is behind Marie,
and the focus changes.
But he is in the light and she is in the dark. She tries to smoke, she can't. But and I was like, my god, this is perfect. I hadn't thought about it before, but it was so great, and because it shows everything that needs to be said, you know. And the people can or can't, I mean, it depends on if they want to see that, but it's true that you have to bring your whole cinematography towards that meaning, you know, because it strikes. I don't know how to say it in another way. but yeah,
it's the most difficult thing to have to bind the two.
Because it
Because
can,
just to make good shots it's easy, but
yeah, because I think it can. I mean, there are some great cinematography pieces that I've seen, that are empty in their meaning, and it's I mean, it's not true for a lot of movies, but it happens, and I always wanted to have this great cinematography with the wonderful actors and the wonderful acting that I could have, because it binds them together. It helps the whole movie, the whole message to come across. And of course, it won't touch everyone, because it depends on whatever you're feeling, or that's cinema, But yeah, I mean, it's so important. I mean,
but I was very lucky to have Leo's take for the script, and that it was really really good that he wrote the script too, because you really knew what he wanted. In terms of even in terms of aesthetic. So I think it would have been more of just good shots if I haven't had this. It is true. I would have made more of just good shots for good shots, but you really managed to help me tie the looks and the script and the story.
Because actually, it was our first shoot together, both of us. It was our first thing, so we needed to trust each other. And the things that I draw every shot, like with doodles. I'm the worst drawer ever. But so I draw everything like with big faces, and it was horrible. But and then I gave that to Guillaume, and he redid the exact same thing on the camera, and it worked. That's wonderful. But yeah, I mean,
and we've been talking about this movie for like 2-3 years before even shooting.
Really? Yeah.
Just I remember just where he was talking to me about an idea of a movie with the bus stop at night and everything. And every time we've been seeing each other, we're always looking around with new ideas for this movie, way before it became something serious. So we had a lot of background. So I think it really helped the movie.
Yeah. Well, just using like that word, like that background as well. I think one of the potential dangers that you could have had as using this concept was when you strip away everything, take away all the beautiful shots and like fortunate weather and things. It could just be two people talking in a field. There is a serious potential that might not work. So of course it really helps that you have great performances to complement that. So I'm just using background and that kind of idea, and this is mainly one for you, Leonor. How do you go about developing your characters? And Leo, if you want to add in as well, because obviously you are an actor, how do you personally go and create characters for you? Because every actor is different in some way, but just can you go into a bit more detail about how you personally do it?
I think, as Leo said, we went to the same school, so we had kind of the same method. So to start with, it was really it was easy because we understand each other very fast, and so we could try stuff together. But as for me, I know that I like method to have some kind of theory and to fulfill to look for examples or situation like this, or just to understand the situation and to be completely as natural as I can be. But I think as well that there's I like to be in the moment. I think when you have understood everything about the situation, the script, the whole thing, the trust with everyone, then you have to just let go of all of this. because it's a very emotional movie with a lot of emotions, and you have to be careful not to go in the big dramatic too much. I don't know, crying or stuff like this. And I think this is why the rewriting together was very important, to put some stuff from me as well, some of me, and also I think, like, for me, the silence in the movie are really important. And I think when there's some silence, and there's a lot of silence, it shows everything. And because the cinema has this capacity of, thanks to the camera and the set of like, you can see everything in the face without saying anything. And I think that was the most important of the movie as well, to be so in it that you don't even need to say something, that we just are with you when we empathize and we understand the situation. And also because we had this situation where, of course, the weather could change suddenly, or we had just 3 nights, but we had this natural time that you can't push, because then it's already day and you can't shoot anymore. So it's a big challenge as well as an actor, because you have to give everything, to spread everything suddenly at the first shoot, because you don't have the time. And I think it's great, because then you are in the moment always, and it's this kind of moment. And when the accidents are coming, sometimes you don't control what's going on because you're so into it. And it's the same, I think, for the camera, or because everything, of course, was already controlled and set before. But I think there were so many moments where we were in the moment and we had to improvise because of the situation or how it goes. And it's great because, as you said, Leo, for example, this moment where I was in the dark trying to light my cigarette and he was behind, and this moment was not planned, kind of like this, and suddenly it worked. And it's great. And I think this is how it works as well for the movie.
And actually what I try to do, for example, for this whole monologue at the end of the movie, when she faces denial, actually, I actually said to Rodolphe and to Leonor, you know what you're saying, you know the lines, just you know what, you can even forget them, just go with what you feel, go with what you know, because you know what you're talking about now. So let's just go with it. And if you need something, of course, you can go back to your frame, you can go back to your lines if you need them. But once you trust yourself, well, let it go, man. But and that worked out because, of course, I mean, this whole sequence with the monologue, with her talking and talking and well, because I tried to do in the script is to have her go through the whole grief process, because she's I don't know how it's called. Oh, man, sorry. What's it called? So there's denial. There's
stages of grief.
Yeah. What are they? Well,
it's like denial, bargaining, acceptance.
Exactly. Yeah. And I tried to make her go through that. And the first edit, for example, was 20 minutes. Now it's 16 minutes. And the thing is that I cut quite a lot of her monologue, because it was awesome what she was doing, but at some time, you need to.
Yeah, of course.
And that's so sad, but also she gave me what I need. So, and,
brilliant. Excellent.
And she did a marvelous job with that. Well, I mean, you earned how many awards now, Leonor? I know.
Brilliant. Okay. Well, it's fantastic to hear. I mean, obviously, you've got a very strong team here, and you know that you're all working together, and that trust was built. I mean, going forward, as in terms of future productions, or even what's next for this film. I mean, James, do you have any ideas as to what might be the case going forward? I mean, do you all intend to work together as a team, or is it all something that this is a one-time thing and then you're all going to go off and do different things, or do you have future plans that we might look forward to?
Well, actually, this was the first film that we produced with our production company, which we founded last year. And so we not only did we enjoy working together, but we actually formalized it. And so at this point, we definitely want to produce more. The quarantine, of course, has kind of set us back a little bit at the moment. But as soon as they let us out, I think we've got several projects in the pipeline. I was just actually reading a script today, that we may produce early next year. So absolutely. No, I think that I love working with Leo. We've known each other for many years now. And I can't wait to see what we come up with next. Honestly.
And so I was just going to ask what the name of the production company is.
It's Urban Sodium, which people who are familiar with lighting will know what that is. But it's a color of light, the kind you get from the street lights. And so, of course, Morituri was very dark. It had this aesthetic, and so I think that kind of, Urban Sodium kind of encapsulates what we're trying to do with this, which is that kind of night dark aesthetic that we captured with Morituri.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, actually, what we're trying to do with our company, with James, is to produce kind of a few short movies, even some that I won't direct. It's some directors are coming to us with ideas, and so we help them out. But also, I've been writing 2 scripts. So it's actually, that's what's funny is that I'm discovering that I'm writing some things that are the same way of Morituri, which is always just 2 or 3 characters. That's just it. I don't need more, because I'm not sure I would be able to direct that many characters and that many actors. So I like to just stay focused on what I really want to say, and that's why there's one happening at a gas station. That I wrote in 6 hours. For I don't know, for a concours, comment on dit ça?
Contest.
Contest.
Okay. For a contest, something like that. And it's it's the same thing. It's 2 people at a gas station where they're liking some gas, and they're just looking for something, And there's another one which is inspired by an idea from Guillaume, which is very cinematographical, which is more experimental, which would be no dialogue at all, just visuals, and it's the story of a photographer trying to find his lost love through photography and through memories and things like that. So it's going to be quite
wow. Oh, brilliant. Well, that all sounds very exciting, actually, and really character driven, which is what myself and Al like a lot. It's our preferred
I don't
type of film as well.
Well, it's the thing that we're trying to do, because in France we don't find much of those drama, sci-fi things. It's a lot of Leonard knows more about French cinema than me, but it's a lot of authors and a lot of there's a peculiar way of shooting a story in France. And the thing is that what I'm trying to do now is to get a few shorts running. That way I can get a feature and try to put that into the French industry. I don't know how to say that better. I don't want it to be presumptuous or anything. But it's just that I feel like we don't need a lot of things to tell a story. Even for feature films, we don't need much at all. We just need two people, or even one, and that's just it. It just needs to be well written, and I don't know. That's what I want to talk about. I just want to talk about humane relationships, and I don't need some superficial things around it, And
I think in these things, it's always a case of less is more, isn't it? You kind of you don't need your sort of £10 million or euro CGI and stuff like that. Sometimes the best stories come from just, like you say, a couple of people having a very human conversation.
That's it. Well, it can at some point, it could become quite pompous. You say pompous? Yeah. To just talk about the nature of life and the way of life and things like that. It can become that way, but so that's why you need to have you have your arcs, the arcs of the characters well written, to have them go somewhere, to have their objectives, and to have them quite clear. Because otherwise, it can really go into so many ways, and you can. I've been seeing in this quarantine we're holding, a apéro cinema, which is like we have like every 2 days we see a movie and we watch a movie together with a few friends and we talk about it and we discuss. And I've been seeing so many movies who lack depth. You see, and they're always like talking about things and never going really deeply into a subject.
Yeah.
And it's some, it's without judging it, or also it's some things that you can find on Netflix, some some modern things, and I think it's sad because people are getting used to a way of getting told a story so that you don't have to think. And the thing is that movies is not thinking at all. It's just that if it's well done, you just need to watch it and you feel things, and that's about it. That's what I'm trying to do. But then again, I don't want to sound presumptuous at all.
Yeah. Would you say the difference between art and a product? So you're selling something to someone and you do it in a formulaic way, or are you trying to be an artist?
Well, I think it depends on your own vision of art. Personally, I think art begins where how do I put this? Art begins where you start. You see, art begins when you put a little bit of yourself into something. It can be paint. It can be I don't know. It could be writing. It could be, I don't know, so many things. Yeah. And I think that what cinema lacks today is this like individuality. You see, a little bit of personal things, and that's what I'm scared about. And that's why I at first I tried to find a production company to produce Morituri, which I didn't do in the end because I felt that it was better to invest my own well-earned money into this, because that way I would be able to tell the story I wanted.
Yeah.
And sadly, people think a lot about selling a movie and distributing a movie and how to make it how can I put this, James? You're more of the financial guy.
Well, I was just going to say that I think that in a short film, like, you have so much opportunity to be able to experiment and to put yourself into it, to put your art into it. Like, there isn't that much of a risk, let's say, that you'd have with a feature. So I think you have a lot more freedom to achieve, like, your own personal vision. The thing I wanted to say also, just in relation to what we were talking about right before, was that I think that a lot of these movies tend to lean on the budget. It's like, let's give them spectacle, let's give them something that they're gonna want to watch. But at the same time, like, then you lose the feeling, that really is the essence of cinema. You go to a movie to feel something, in essence. So I think that the short film, the low budget medium, allows a lot more freedom than you would ever find, like, in a bigger production. And so I think that Morituri was a great example of that.
Yeah, because it was risk. I mean, as I said, it was the first time I was directing. It could have been like I don't know if I can say this word, but it could have been like a shit, a big shit. But it turned out quite well. And of course, it has its flaws, but you have to try out. You have to find who you are and what your art is, and the way you want to share it. And because otherwise it's going to get stuck inside yourself, and you won't be able to share it. And that's what's important with art, is when you create something and you share it. I guess.
Wow. Yeah, it's a good message. Yeah, no, it's fantastic to. I think we would both agree. Would you agree with that, Al? For sure, it's just there's so much you can do, especially today. We've spoken about this with previous guests. If you want to make something a story, or a piece of art, you can. There are many ways to do it today with the digital world we live in.
Absolutely.
So it's great to hear you guys think the same, and actually approach it with that viewpoint, and really want to make the most of it, as opposed to that being, perhaps you could say, the starting point. Obviously, we all want to be recognised and make huge features and be recognised as celebrated in whatever art field we're in. But if you want to take that experimental approach with things as well and be able to explore ideas and stories, I mean, that's how we make new things, isn't it? That's how we create, as opposed to replicating things. So it's really good to hear that being shared with other people. So we won't keep you for too much longer, because obviously it's very hot here, and you are definitely going to have it worse than we are in terms of the hot weather. So if you don't mind, any like final words from yourselves, maybe a small bit of advice, and then just a way that people can follow your careers and the production company as well, just maybe like the social media from it or something like that. So
sure. Well, Leonor, please go ahead.
No, but I don't know. I mean, well, you better to sell your company, I think. But if you want to you can follow. We have a Facebook page of the movie. If you want to follow the rest and the other awards and the other festivals, of course you can follow. And of course, if people want to, I mean, you can't share the link now, Leo. But I don't know if sometimes there's some festival where you can see the movie for 24 hours. So for people, if you want to follow this, of course, et voilà. And the rest of us, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook to follow the next adventures. Voilà.
Yeah. Brilliant. What we'll do is we'll make sure that any links that you want us to share with people are posted on our website. So so you can send them to us with headshots, whatever you want to use to promote yourselves, and as a team, as individuals, we'll make sure that we do all we can. So
perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.
Brilliant.
Yeah, thank you.
That's all right. So we'll stop the recording, and then we can all breathe and relax. Okay, thank you, guys. Right. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and thank you for the team for taking part. As you would have heard, there is a very passionate guy. It's so funny because like throughout the communications beforehand, like working the podcast into the schedule and everything, he said he was so dismissive of his English ability, and he's able to express his ideas in such a nice character, but very clear way, and it just comes across, and I think it will come across to anybody that is creative and does see things in an out of the box way. So yeah, really impressed with everything, and I remember us chatting to them afterwards and just being like, yeah, we would work with you so easily, because we share that just idea of like just making things look incredible, and but for a purpose. And yeah, it's just really nice to meet them. Yes. The code. So have your devices at the ready. I've got the right one this time. WDPOD54. One more time. WDPOD54. As usual, 10% off submissions this week only, and that's it.
Yep, stick around for next week for another code.
For another one. And that's like the most interesting bit. No.
Well, I see it as a cherry on top.
Absolutely. What would your cherry be on top of? Would it be like what? A cake?
A bowl of soup.
Okie dokie. I wish I'd never asked.
Well, you ask a weird question, I give you a weird answer.
I suppose. I mean, yeah. I apologise. I'll make sure my questions are just very dull and boring going forward.
Thank you.
Sorry, Adam.
That would be appreciated. Well,
shall we end?
Yeah, we'll see you next week.
Excellent. All right. Bye, everyone.
Bye.